Awesome. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Worldviews. Today, I'm joined by Kyla, also known as NotSoErudite, with a background in psychology. Excuse me. She's become known for her thoughtful takes on gender, relationships, and identity. She's debated some of the internet's biggest personalities and appeared on major platforms like Destiny Stream, the Whatever Podcast, and Fresh and Fit. Kyla, thank you for coming on Worldviews.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate the invite.
Yeah, so I know you have quite the background in psychology. What initially got you interested in psychology, and how do you utilize that for debating and conversations?
Into debate, mostly because my husband, I think, saw like a niche that I could occupy. He knew that I was really disagreeable by nature. I've never been in like a formal debate club ever. I just would debate him a lot and was very opinionated. When him and I met, I was taking a lot of philosophy courses alongside my psych degree. And so I would come and talk to him. When my husband and I met, I was like a really radical feminist and he was a libertarian conservative. So we would fight about like everything all the time. Um, and so I think basically between a program I was running for the government of Alberta was ending and my master's program for, like, clinical psych was about to start. I had about, like, 6 months to fill. Didn't wanna get a job because I'm a at the time, especially, I didn't continue my registry this year, but I was a registered addictions counselor, and I'm also a psychometrist, and so any of those jobs are professional, and it's kind of shitty to take the job and only do it for 6 months because nobody would hire you for those jobs for only 6 months. And so he's like, "Well, you've been kind of testing out social media with this mental health program. Why don't you just try streaming?" And I was like, "Okay, sure, fuck it, let's try." And then, oh, can I swear?
Yeah. You know, I've never heard someone like on a podcast ask, "Can I swear?" and them say no, but you can swear here.
Well, if you said no, if you were like, if you like hesitated, nobody would say no. But if the answer is no, they'll go like, I mean, it's okay. And then I would try not to.
No, you're fine. You're fine. This is all language is welcome.
Okay, good. So I'm gonna drop every slur. Um, So, yeah, basically, I tried my hand at streaming, and then Nick was like, "You should talk to this guy named Destiny. He'll talk to anyone." And I was like, "Okay." So I emailed him. We talked. We actually ended up on a debate panel before then because I was trying out debate panels as well. And then kind of the rest is history. Like I had pretty much 200 viewers overnight and kind of just kept growing since then. And then I stopped streaming for like a year and a half after about a year of streaming and did more back end work and started up bridges. And now I'm here streaming again. So yeah, it's kind of been a bit of a circle, but
Yeah, and before you were not so erudite, am I saying that correctly though? I feel like I'm not.
erudite.
Erudite,
Mhm.
erudite, goodness gracious. Okay, cool. Before you were not so erudite, what did you really believe about the world then? You said you met your boyfriend during a time or your husband, excuse me, during a time that you were you said
A
radical
rad
feminist?
femme.
A radical feminist. So how did you perceive the world as a radical feminist?
I very much was buying into like the early kind of ideas of being like, have you ever read the essay, Throwing Like a Girl? Oh, the name of the author is escaping me right now. I should definitely know this.
I don't
Um,
believe I have.
Iris Marion Young. I thought it was Marion Young. I just didn't want to say it and then be wrong. So I was like a big Iris Marion Young fan. I loved this essay, Throwing Like a Girl, where it's this idea of like how we socialize girls to move their bodies in such ways that are oftentimes very unathletic. And then we get like shocked when girls like aren't good at sports. And so the argument was very much like, women might be just as good at sports as men are. We're just like socially acculturated not to. And then my husband was like, no, you're wrong. And the only people who believe that don't know anything about sports. And I was like, I'm an athlete. I know lots about sports. And then he showed me the U15 boys team playing like the like Olympic gold women's team. And I was like, oh fuck. And then I dropped it. Like I've always been persuaded by evidence. So I think what's like central to who I've been this whole time is I'm somebody who's very always willing to be incorrect and to update my worldview. It just needs like a surmountable amount of evidence that would clearly crush my worldview for me to update it. In the case of like being a rad femme, like that was one thing that broke my mindset about like the essentially the biological differences between like males and females.
Yeah, what was the, I guess, biggest opinion within your worldview that you had to shift that like took that was the most challenging to shift, I guess you could say?
Challenging? I don't know. Being wrong is good, and I think I've always felt that way. Like, discovering that you've been incorrect is like, I think a lot of people fear it. And I think in a public space, I hate being found out to be incorrect because people like mock you for it. But I think like fundamentally at my core, being wrong is exciting. Like it's a good thing. Because if you're wrong, now you have like a whole new world to start exploring and learning about. Um, so most of my like, I've had tons of major political shifts. Like I used to be a fundamentalist Christian before all this, like super fundy and believed the earth was like 10,000 years old. And now I'm like a staunch evolutionist and whatnot. So I don't know, being wrong should be the most delightful experience for somebody because it means that you're now potentially oriented like more towards truth, and that's exciting, and you get to discover new things and develop more. Stagnating is not good. So I don't know, none of them were like hard, even though a lot of them were like foundationally worldview shattering.
Yeah, because you grew up in a Christian home, sounds like. I think that's true, and
I'm still a
w-
Christian too.
you're still a Christian because I
Mm.
think it was described as radical orthodoxy, but it's
Yes.
not particularly the Orthodox Church. Is that correct?
It's Protestantism, actually. So I'm protesting the Catholic Church. It's a branch of Protestantism. It's just a theological approach that's a lot closer to probably how the Catholics engage with the Bible. Like I'm not sola scriptura, for example.
Okay, but you believe in like the resurrection and everything. You said yes.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay. Interesting. Okay. And
but if it didn't happen, it wouldn't change my faith.
if it didn't happen, you'd still be a Christian. Why is that?
I think like fundamentally, like if it was like more metaphysical than it was like real, it still doesn't change like my personal experiences with Christ. Like those are undeniable, and I think the world is always trending towards a better world when it's like more oriented towards Christ. I just feel like there's so much, I guess, evidence in the pudding. Um,
So, are you saying you've had supernatural experiences with Jesus Christ?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Do you mind sharing those experiences?
Sure. I don't usually. Is this a Christian podcast?
Well, so I'm a Christian. My buddy that I run this with is also a Christian, but the people we talk to a lot of the time are not. And the people that listen, I imagine, a lot of the time are not. Like we have people
Yeah.
of all different backgrounds and worldviews on. Uh, for example, I mean, I've had Graham Appius. He's a pretty staunch atheist. Dan Barker is another one. I've had a couple rabbis on, so it just goes all over the board.
Yeah. Um, Okay. I usually don't share them because I'm very staunch on not being a spiritual leader, especially because my approach to faith is so atypical that I very much recognize that, like, while I'm pursuing my faith, like, honestly, I'm in prayer, I'm in the word, like, I'm doing my best to be honest and, like, wrestle with God honestly. I also understand that I, like, fly away from a lot of, like, Christian, like, dogmatism in, like, how you're supposed to interpret the faith. And I would never wanna be, like, a false teacher to somebody else. Like, if I'm gonna go to hell because I'm super wrong, I don't wanna take anyone with me, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't.
Um,
Yeah, I don't see how that
so I
would
wanna
happen
couch
though.
this really heavily by saying I'm not a spiritual leader. I don't think I'm a spiritual leader, and holy shit, please don't give me that responsibility because I don't want it. I'm not here for it. I'm not your pastor, and I don't wanna be, because that is such an immense burden. Um, I'll tell the most, like, blatant one. When I was 20, I think, me and my friends did a really stupid thing, and 4 of us got on this back of a horse, like a big, thick horse, sleigh pulling horse. He's this big stocky boy. But horses don't always like it when there's extra butts on their back. They sometimes get weirded out because it's a different sensation. There's 4 legs flailing around on either side instead of 2. So we all get on him and then we ask him to walk forward and he spooks and bucks. So he bucks all 4 of us off of his back. And we were also really smart when we did this because we were on top of concrete and gravel. Um, so we all fall. One girl has a seizure, has to go to the hospital. I come out pretty well. I just like can barely move my hip. It was just bruised. But I'm pretty sure I broke like my hand, like right here, because I can't move it at all. It immediately like puffs up. Like it's a pretty classic break. We all go to the hospital. And the worst part is it was right before camp was supposed to start. So the next day, again, we're really smart 20-year-olds, okay? The next day was one of the biggest fundraisers for our camp. And at this time, I was the head of the program. So we had this event called the Ride-a-thon that I and my barn manager were supposed to lead. And I go to the hospital. My thumb's broken. I can't ride. I can't even like do up a saddle because my thumb's fucking broken. And my boss is like, well, 4 out of 5 staff are unable to work. Great. And more than that, after Rideathon, I was supposed to have 2 months of camp with kids, which again, the camp that I ran, was very, like, in the bushes. So I ran at that time, I was running this new program I had built for, 15 to 18-year-olds, so they stay with us for about a month in a tent with horses. The horses are not in the tent, just to be clear, okay? We have our boundaries. And so my friend, she's very much what I call, like, the crystal Christian, which not because they're into crystal stuff, but they have, like, that hippie vibe, but it's all, like, about Jesus, you know? So they're like, "Oh, like, God is so good, and he's full of love," and she's very spiritual, like, woo-woo, which has never really been my thing. And she's like, "Let me just pray for your hand to heal it." And I was like, "Go for it, girl." Like, I didn't believe I was not super like, I was fundamentalist at the time. I believed in, like, miracle healings could happen, but I was on my way out of that kind of belief system, so I was like, "I fuck it, go for it." She prays for my hand. Bear in mind, I got an X-ray. My hand was broken. It was unquestionably broken, like, it was X-rayed. I woke up the next day, all of the swelling was gone. I could completely move my thumb. There was 0 pain, and I worked from then on. I never went back to get another X-ray because, again, I was 20 and stupid, and I also wasn't, like, trying to prove this to anyone. I was just like, "Sweet, fuck it, now I can ride." Um, but yeah, it was just, like, kind of overnight healed, and so for me, I don't know, it's just I don't know, when you have experiences like that, like, it's just like, I don't know, God's real. Something's real. I sure hope he's God. I like the Christian God. He seems based. I see most evidence for him, so
I agree, but a lot of people don't. And, do you think, wow, that's interesting.
yeah.
'Cause so you've had more than that too. Well, I guess what were the ones
Yes.
that I guess weren't as blatant, I guess?
Uh, God, I really don't wanna go into that. I just know that, like, people who really hate me might, like, use this against me, so, um, I
If you
prefer
want,
to
we
keep
can
those
cut
ones
this
personal.
we can cut this part out, but we can share it after, it's not a big deal, or not at all.
Sure, I'll share with you afterwards, yeah, I don't yeah, I don't want people, like, weaponizing, like, some of the most, like, personal, like, meaningful, like, spiritual events, especially because, like, I'm not trying to proselytize, and so I don't want, like, my faith to become a weapon against me. I'm not interested in that.
Yeah, that's kinda challenging though when it comes to, I guess, being a public figure on YouTube to some degree, especially engaging with debates. You can only reveal so much, it sounds like, as coming from a fear of people using it against you, within a discussion or debate format, is that right?
Not even a debate format, it's like I just have some really dedicated, obsessed haters, who, like, have doxed me from, like, the shadows in my home. So I'm good. And they've, like, doxed my parents and, like, swatted me a few times. So, like, I don't think my experience is, like, prototypical of most content creators, especially not content creators my size. Like, Milo Mini Minuteman, he's got, like, 2 million on YouTube. I was, like, telling him some of, like we were, like, sharing our crazy person stories, and he's like, "Your crazies are a lot worse than mine." And I was like, "Yeah." That's like, being a woman in politics, liberal, so I'm not really friends with anyone, and I'm friends with Steven, so I've collected his crazies, so I think I just have a bit of a interesting melting pot of hatred.
Yeah, yeah. How was your family pretty accepting of your sort of transition out of fundamental Christian household into more of a different style of Christianity?
Yeah, I mean, they don't typically talk about theology with me, mostly because I'm an epic debater and I would wreck them in a debate on anything. Um, but I'm not sort of, I'm not joking. Not that I would, like, be nasty, like, or anything like that. They just, like they're, like, happy in their fundamentalism, and they don't really wanna come out of it. Like, they don't want me to be like, "Really, Samson tied foxtails together? Like, come on, like, let's think about this. Like, why are we ruining the story by insisting it literally happened? Like, why do we need to do this? Like, at all. That's not even how the Hebrews at the time were writing their mythological histories. Like, we just don't need to do this." Anyways, so they're incredible, honestly, for, like, how broken they were. Like, they were both, like, very abused backgrounds, found Christianity late in life, and my brother's gay, and they still, like, accept him and love him. So they're very good at loving their kids despite, like, theologically disagreeing with them, essentially.
Yeah, yeah, and I'd love to see how far your views go. So would you say the Genesis story is not a literal account then?
That's
Adam and
mythology,
Eve
so
weren't literally people?
sorry?
You wouldn't say Adam and Eve were literally people either?
Definitely. I mean, there might have been a guy named Adam and Eve, but they weren't, like, the first people ever on
You
the
wouldn't say
planet that, like, crawled out of a garden, no.
okay,
They
okay.
might have been, like, 2 essential, like, matriarchs and patriarchs, though, of, like, the Hebrew people while they were still, like, Semitic people wandering the desert fighting with the Canaanites.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a unique view because I don't think I've ever met someone that was as zealous as you are when it comes to you if the resurrection was proven incorrect, you would still be a Christian because of the value it provides for the world nonetheless,
And
which
believing, like, God is like, I think
but
God
believing
is
that
real.
yeah, believing in God has I
Yeah.
mean, I guess
Right
if Christian
now, I'm
yeah.
90% sure it literally happened. Like, I think that matters. I just sometimes move. Like, sometimes I'm like, I don't know if it would matter if it happened or not. And then I'm like, but probably the physical element is, like, essential to, like, the spiritual element of, like, the blood and the covenant and, like, I think the physical element probably matters. So I'm on the 90% side of saying right now I'd say, yeah, it literally did happen. I'm just saying if God came down and he tapped me on the head and he's like, "Actually, it didn't happen," I'd be like, "Okay, whatever. I still believe in you."
Yeah, do you mind if I ask, since you work closely with Destiny, do you guys ever talk about it in, like, on depth? After
Not
like, I guess behind the scenes and whatnot?
not in depth. Like when he asks, we talk about it is typically like my approach with things. But like mostly he'll like laugh at me for it and be like, "Oh yeah, you believe in like the sky angels and blah 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 blah," and I'll just like joke alongside with him. If he ever asked me like seriously about it, I'd be happy to talk to him about it. I'm trying to think. I think we've maybe talked like once about it, like in more depth. But I think for him, he's just kind of like, okay, like it's really weird to meet this like super intelligent person who believes in spaghetti monster in the sky, essentially.
Yeah, do you think he'll ever come to Christianity or to Christ or anything like that?
Well, I don't know. That's between him and God. You never know what happens on people's deathbed, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and how long have you been debating?
3 years. But I
3
took like a
years.
year and a half off in that. So technically a year and a half, but I stopped streaming for, like, a year and a half. So I've been in content creation since 2022, and I
Yeah.
streamed for about a year and a half, and then I stopped because I got a job working with the Democrats on media stuff, and I started doing bridges. So I just kind of, like, let my own channel go by the wayside because I don't care about being famous. I'm a bad content creator, I just don't care. I'm not in it to get famous, I'm in it to, like, make enough money to run a treatment center and get the networks that I need to run a treatment center for young men leaving juvenile delinquency. So, like, the fame is cool, but it's a certain grind that is tough that I'd be willing to do on the back end. I've now learned since that stint of being like, I think I just need to grow my own like fame and power because in this space, if you have subs and follows, there's just a lot more doors that open to you and a lot more people that will take you as like a credible source, which is kind of cringe, but it is what it is.
Yeah, how far along are you on that journey to financially funding that?
Well, now that Bridges got nuked, a lot further back than I was a year ago. Right now, we're looking for some financial stability. It's interesting. I have a lot of people who have basically been like, when I do get started, they'd be interested in investing like very like 6 to 7 figure investments. So I have about 2 to 3 people who have already like made that verbal commitment. Um, but that would not even start what would be needed to like build like even just the standard of accredited facility that I would need, it's probably gonna its startup cost will be about 25 million. So even if somebody say all three of these people don't need to be like 1 to 1.5 million, that's not even close to what I need, like at all. And I would need a much I think I'm at this point where I've accepted probably the business needs to be mine. I need to own it myself and have my business be the source of income, and then use that business to stabilize my income, to supplement this treatment center, and then go to funders, to get them invested in projects. So I have a couple of funders that are interested in funding, like, research projects on young men, and I think that that's a really strong start potentially to getting some, like, serious funders for the event, but I need to build up those relationships more.
Yeah, but you sound like you still feel like this is a very attainable goal for you.
I hope so. It's all I've been pursuing since I was, like, 19, so
Giant. Yeah. Yeah, and do you think? Because I've talked to many debaters here, do you think it's an overall more valuable to debate topics at all on YouTube or any type of format? Do you think that provides a lot of value to society?
Yes and no. It depends on like what value we're talking about here, as a debate bro would answer. Um, I think it's very effective at weaponizing at equipping your own side with rhetoric that's effective. So people who are left leaning, they watch me, they watch Destiny, they learn good argument lines to go down to dismantle certain belief systems that they might oppose. So it's decently effective at that. Um, but the way debate is right now, like the Piers Morgan style debate, I think is more about watching 2 teams and you're voting for one team and the other side's voting for the other team and you just hope your team gets a dunk. And it's like, that's not the spirit of what debate is. Like, I would like to see, um, debates that are more Socratic in style because I think Socratic debates are, like, one of the most important things that I think anyone could do. I think that it should be in school. I think it's so important, but it's really hard to train people on, like, what's good faith versus bad faith debate and how to make people maintain that behavior. That's something that we do in my Discord a lot, is that we, like, debate a lot in my Discord, but we really try to moderate in such a way that, like, when somebody's obviously being bad faith, we'll, like, stop them and be like, "Hey, this is what you're doing, and is it effective in this what? And for such and such regions," or essentially, it's not something we really allow. Like, engage with the ideas honestly or don't engage at all. So we do our best. But yeah, the Piers Morgan stuff, I think it's mostly to just see your team. It's like watching like Sunday night football almost, which is
Yeah.
sad. I don't think that's what debate is for, but
Yeah, I agree. Have you ever felt like has any moment in your streaming career, your debate career so far, have you ever felt like maybe this space is unhealthy for you? Have you ever had those moments?
oh yeah, the space is super unhealthy for most people in it. I think everyone in it. I don't think you come away unscathed. You just have to decide how scathed you come away and what you do with that.
Yeah, because it sounds like well, at the very least, I guess, it's a extremely good practice towards you working on your discipline to be patient during these conversations and discussions.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's good for my patience.
Because I imagine if you're debating someone, especially in person, and they lose their cool on you, especially on a show or platform that like Piers Morgan, that says that's a good thing. It takes away from the value of the topic in itself, and also is just distracting overall.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people when they watch debates are like watching for who gets mad first. And they're like, whoever gets mad first loses. And it's like, that's not how debates work. But okay, it like feels like it's like a water fight, and we're trying to figure out like who gets wet first. That's like, this is not what this is. But yeah, I mean, patience is really valuable, especially being like a woman in the debate space. Um, if I lose my frustration, if I lose my cool, that's gonna get weaponized against me more quickly and more aggressively. It will lead to even, like, people on my side being more dismissive of me than if I think, like, a man, gets angry. That's typically what I see, is that I'll show the same level of aggression. Like, you'll watch Destiny, and he does a lot of energy matching. Um, when I energy match, people usually just think I'm a bitch, so I have to be slightly to a fair bit below the person's energy to come off looking optically strong. Um, yeah, I think the Dyer debate's a good example of that. If I had matched his energy, people probably would have sided with him. Whereas because I was so calm and he was so like bitchy and angry, he just looked silly the whole time. But that's not even debating. That's just like emotional regulation practice, I guess.
Yeah, do you ever prefer if any of these debates are actually professionally scored?
That would be amazing. It's just, it's really hard. You need to, like like, most moderators don't even know how to manage a good debate. Like, I don't know if Piers Morgan could actually identify if a Mott and Bailey happened, pause it, call it out, and correct it. I don't think he could do that, right? The most he could probably do is be like, "That's an ad hominem," and he would probably be incorrect. He'd probably just say if I insult somebody as an ad hominem, which it's not. So yes, I think like scoring would be cool. There's a lot of people I think that are trying to use AI right now to see if they can come up like a rubric system for scoring debates. There's a guy in my server doing it right now. It's so tough because you have to get people to also buy into the rubric system, which everyone's going to debate about too. Yeah, and Are you familiar with effective altruism?
Effective altruism. I'm not.
Okay. It's just like a community that's interested in effective altruism, as it sounds. But like they're known for just like always criticizing their own side and like just they're always like critiquing and critiquing and critiquing endlessly. And it's kind of like the joke, like you never get anything done in effective altruism because like you have to go through like 19 layers of meetings to like ensure that we've got the exact right wording on all things. It's very like pedantic in that way. So I think in the debate space, it's very similar. So like, yes, a professional rubric would be awesome, but like who would both sides of the political divide trust to make it, um, and is also qualified to make it? Like, I actually don't know. Um, I couldn't even think of a person that could do it.
Yeah, yeah. I guess because it's also funny because I think you have your own podcast going that you do something kind of similar to what I do to some degree, but on a more macro scale, I guess, where you interview people of vastly different backgrounds and worldviews and just talk with them in an interview lens. I imagine is that right?
I don't know which show you're talking about. I have, like, The Humanizing or Bridges?
Maybe it's Bridges. That's what it is. Bridges. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I imagine for you that provides a lot more value to some degree than it would be debating the person. Or would you disagree?
I think the best conversations have a fair bit of agreement and a fair bit of disagreement. And then the disagreement, I think the agreement builds the rapport that you need so that when you get to the disagreement, you can both honestly like suss your way through it. And I think one of the things that's so powerful about debate, like Socratic debate, if both people are being honest, if they're listening to the other person well, and they're also giving the benefit of the doubt, so they're taking the other person's statement and they're interpreting it in the most charitable, reasonable way possible. Like they're actually talking to the person, as Jordan Peterson would say, as somebody that they can learn from and somebody who might know something. And then what I find in those conversations is those are the conversations I learn the most in, where we're like slightly disagreeing. It's safe to be wrong. And you actually like expand both of your guys' worldview as a result of this. And I've had one public debate that was like that. And it's my favorite public debate of all time, which is me versus Rose Wrist and Bojangles, the science guy on trans sports. Um, and it was an amazing debate because we came in with opposite views, but we were able to come to like a synthesis of ideas that actually like balanced out one another's viewpoints. And I'm like, that is my trans sports take now because it's just the best I've ever heard. I haven't heard anyone give a better trans sports take. And so, like it's the most scientifically informed, it's the most epistemically humble. And so I think those debates are possible. It's just the public space is very punishing for being wrong. And I think to have these types of debates, you have to be vulnerable or willing to be wrong, and it's really hard to be willing to be wrong. You have to feel like you have to win, which is not the point of a Socratic debate. It's not to win, it's to, like, arrive closer to truth.
Sure, sure, I agree. But you don't have any did you debate in high school or college?
No.
So you're just self-trained from the last few years? How is your preparation going into debates? Like, how many hours are you dedicating to the whole training yourself to debate this person? I know it probably varies person to person, topic to
Yeah.
topic, but what would you say on average is the amount of time that's taken? Or and also the, I guess, procedure?
It's hard to narrow down because, like, my husband and I practice debating and talk about, like, my skill, like, all the time. Like, sometimes, like, for when I have upcoming debates, we'll, like, go to the hot tub and spend, like, an hour in there every night just, like, talking about debates and ironing out my positions and getting more concise responses and stuff like that. So, like, it's tough to, like, finalize because I think if Nick and I weren't doing that, we'd still be debating each other because that's just, like, something we do. So, like, in some ways, like, a ton of hours, because it's, like, something that's part of my lifestyle. For, like, an actual topic, though, like, doing the research part. So, like, when Nick and I practice, we're ironing out my fundamental philosophy or, like, my fundamental political philosophy, and then we're ironing out, like, quick, pithy ways to deliver that information. And then after that, when I'm prepping for a specific debate, I'm prepping on the topic. And since my Tim Pool debate, I've realized I also, unfortunately, now need to prep for the person, and, like, get used to the bad faith tactics that they'll use and know how to respond to them better. So Like the Tim Pool debate, I've been prepping. I've got it on August 9th. I've started prepping before this last weekend. I had Unfuck America Tour, and it's kind of the same topics that I can prep for because conservatives tend to have the same kind of key talking points that they're interested in. So I've been like prepping like almost an hour to 2 hours a day on the Tim Pool stuff of like reading research and getting an understanding of like what he thinks and tracking what he thinks because I feel like it's just all over the place all the time. And like prepping for his additional people as I find out who else is coming. So yeah, the Tim Pool one I've been prepping a lot more for because the first Tim Pool show I had, I got notification like 2 days before, and one of those days was travel. So I had like 2 hours to prep. And I was like, I would say like I walked away being like, I was really not happy with that debate. Like I think I did good enough for just having basic rhetoric and like knowing how to think well, but I didn't have anything prepped on like the topics that he went into. Mostly because I prepped for a completely different topic and a different person. But I should have just been prepped. I should have been prepped to know that if he invites me to talk to like some random conservative, I'm actually there to talk to him and that person's just a proxy by which he's doing that. So I should have like researched his show more to know that that would be the case.
Mm. Do you I wanted to ask because you sort of mentioned it before. What's the most proudest debate performance you've ever had?
Hard to say. I mean, probably my best debate in recent times is the Dyer debate, but I hate that debate because it's not a debate. It was literally just a practice of like knowing more philosophy than he thought I did and staying calm as much as possible. But that was definitely like Jay Dyer is kind of like the boogeyman of like the presuppositionalist transcendental argumentation. So a lot of like Phil bros loved the fuck out of that debate because Jay Dyer is like the final boss of presuppositionalism, and I made him just look really silly. Um, my proudest debate, probably my debate with Andrew Wilson on whatever. I think that was a really good debate. It was challenging. Andrew Wilson's a really strong opponent. Him and I agreed beforehand that we were both going to be good faith because he oftentimes will utilize what I would call bad faith tactics. I do too at times, just to be clear. Everyone's bad faith. Like, I'm not saying he's a bad person. When I say bad faith to me is very neutral. Like people use bad faith argumentation all the time. Steven does. It's not like this moral character indictment. I just do my best to not do that when I can. And I was like, you should do the same. And he agreed to it. And I think it was a fantastic debate. I think it was like one of the best debates I've ever had because he's a strong debater. He's really good to debate against. And his worldview is like wholly in conflict with mine. So it tested like every merit of my worldview. But because it was good faith, we actually got to like put the metal to the ground of like our ideas, like really wrestle them out. And I think we're both like, I think he's actually more rhetorically effective than I am. And so I got to take somebody on who's more rhetorically effective, but we're being good faith on ideas we fully oppose on. So I think I grew a lot as a debater as a result of that debate. So that's probably my favorite one.
Yeah, when you go on these shows, are you nervous or are you just like, I'm built for this, so let's go?
Super nervous.
How do you battle the nerves?
I made a commitment, so you got to go on. I pray. I pray beforehand. I've been increasingly trying to be mindful of praying beforehand because I don't always do that, but I try to pray beforehand. That like God would use me if this is a topic that matters in any way, and just kind of go in because there's no way to get over your nerves until you just go in and do it. Like you don't get over your nerves of jumping off the cliff. You just have to jump off the cliff.
Sure. What happens after these debates that you would go on live for? For example, after you debate Jay Dyer, Andrew Wilson on whatever, do you guys go out and just like have a drink and chat more, or how's that even look? The after effects.
Yeah, so Andrew Wilson and I think, have a better relationship. It's tenuous. Sometimes we're enemies and sometimes we're not. I think we're in a breaking the bread era right now, though. After my Andrew Wilson debate, we like chatted a little bit, talked a bit, but we didn't like go out to eat. Like we're not friends. Jay Dyer came up to me and was like, "Good show. Sorry about that. That's just how I debate." And I told him, I was actually super disappointed in you. I think that you could actually have a good debate. but you didn't, and you chose not to, and that's unfortunate. So he was really mad. He does not like me. He was like, he took his hand away, and like every woman will know this, that moment where you see a guy's face like swap to like a moment of like disgust and hatred, and then he like turned away. I was like, oh, this man fucking hates me now. Like he was pissed. So yeah, we did not go out for dinner, but I usually will catch food with Brian Atlas after whatever. Like him and I get along pretty well. So yeah, but it's usually like 2 a.m. by the time this shit ends. So
Yeah,
half the time you just
because
want
I imagine because you've done ones that are like 4 hours, 5
to.
hours
They're
maybe?
almost all 7 hours.
7?
Yeah.
Jeez, that's so mentally
Yeah.
exhausting.
Uh-huh.
What do you think was I asked your greatest debate performance, so I gotta ask you, what do you think was your worst debate performance?
Mm, typically, I think my worst debate performances will be against Destiny. I've beat him once. Actually, it's recent, but I think my recent debate with Destiny was very poor. I think it was tough because me and my debate partner were not super aligned, and I was already arguing for a pretty ambiguous term. And I will say, I think Destiny and his opponent were being explicitly bad faith. Because when you're debating somebody who's using something ambiguous, so this is what conservatives do. They go, "What is a woman?" Right? And for somebody who's left, gender is kind of like somewhat ambiguous and vague. Like it's not simple. Which a lot of people think like the simple answer is the correct answer. That's not true because life is very complex, right? But arguing for an unsimple, more like nebulous concept, you're already struggling. Like it's already a tough debate. So I think I started with a nebulous topic. Me and my debate partner were not aligned. So we were kind of going in two separate directions all the time. And then while those two, Swipe Hill and Destiny, could kind of like 2v1 us each at a time. And I think I allowed them to run a narrative that I was like jumping back and forth on my definitions, which I wasn't really. I had like kind of two separate points that I was talking about. But again, I think it just got all, it was just muddled and messy. It was just not a strong debate. Although I was right, just to be clear.
Yeah, do you enjoy the team debates? I feel like that's so much more
No,
challenging working with someone.
no, I do not. If you have a good debate partner, it can be really fun. I had a debate a little bit ago just on TikTok with a guy named Staxiums. He's like this small liberal progressive content creator. Him and I bounced off of each other super well. And that when you have that, it's so fun. But it's really hard to have that. Like it is genuinely really hard. I usually try to just solo it as much as I can.
Sure, sure. Who do you think's the smartest person you ever debated?
Destiny is for sure probably the smartest debater out there. He's just the best. I'm not even saying this because he's my friend. He's just like undeniably one of the strongest debaters.
What
I don't know if he's the highest
was
IQ though. Just to be clear, I don't know.
Sure, sure, sure. What's your dream debate to have with who and what topic?
I would love to debate Jordan Peterson. That's my dream person, and I would love to debate him on his decay into bitterness because I really look up to Jordan Peterson. Actually, I really like him. I don't love his 2020 stuff post 2020, but I love Jordan Peterson.
Decay into bitterness?
Yeah, I think he's really angry.
Oh, you would
Yeah.
debate him on that?
Yeah.
It's an interesting topic.
I would narrow it to like, I think he's got something on resentment. I don't know. I think one of his books has stuff on resentment. I'm sure he does. He talks about resentment a lot. It's very Nietzschean, and I would basically say that like you have failed. You have become ressentiment, and it shows, and it's decaying your thinking, and that's bad.
What philosophical idea or political idea, I guess, challenged you or captivated you the most?
Captivated me the most. I mean, I think Hannah Arendt is probably the greatest political philosopher of all time. I think she's really underappreciated. Probably not of all time, but she is brilliant. And her writings on totalitarianism really gave me language to explaining how groupthink works. And she does such a good job of laying out like the extremist pipeline that like leftists always whinge about. which, to be clear, there's pipelines to all extremisms, both communist extremism and like fascist extremism. But her language on how totalitarian regimes work, because she didn't exist when social media did, was so helpful for me understanding how pipelines and echo chambers work, right? And to kind of look at that and go, well, I want to insert myself here along the pipeline to kind of be like a stopgap and to kind of understand where this person is on this side of the pipeline and this person is on this side, and know how to talk to both and like figure out who's reachable in like which section. So I think Hannah Arendt's writing on totalitarianism is probably my favorite.
How much time do you spend reading?
Not as much as I should. I got a book club that I joined that I'm running with my server now to read Nicomachean Ethics again. But I do a lot of like listening instead. I have a hard time like sitting still and reading. Ever since my brain injury, it's really tough for me. So that hour that I'm talking about prepping for debate prep for Tim Pool is typically the hour that I'm like reading, and it's going to be reading like scientific articles. After that, I try to listen more than read. I just have a like do chores and or go ride the horses and listen to like a book or a lecture. Michael Segru is like one of my favorite lecturers on philosophy. I listen to him a lot.
So reading only comes really when you're preparing for debates?
Yeah, it's like a grueling thing I force myself to do because I know that I need to be like in the language and like seeing it to like stick it into my mind as most effectively as possible.
Yeah. And who do you think are like because you mentioned you listen to, what's his name, Michael DeGroot?
Michael Segru.
Segru.
Yeah, I
Okay.
am Groot, not Groot.
Who do you think are I guess, the top 3 greatest philosophers today?
Today,
Or you know,
Michael
all
Segru is
time?
dead too. Oh, of all
Oh, he's
time,
dead.
Aristotle, and then Aristotle. I think Aristotle solved philosophy, and everything's been a crappy rerun since then. And I will never move on that position. I am like, yeah. Um, More seriously, I really like Aristotle. Obviously, he's my absolute number one. I think if you're going to read anything, Nicomachean Ethics is such a good book too. That's why I'm doing it for my book club because it's simple, it's quick, and it's very digestible. There is like a little bit of language stuff. Like it'll sometimes the translators will use the Greek, and you need to learn what the Greek is. But like, there's really good translations out there. Nicomachean Ethics is such a good, easy read, and if you want to like understand the like foundations of what we believe in Western civilization, it's Nicomachean Ethics. Um, After Aristotle, I'm a simp for Voltaire. I just love his nihilistic, pithy, romanticist writing. I just think it's funny that he's like a romantic who's basically like, God abandoned us and there's no use in life anymore. Like, it's just like this weird blend of like a romantic who's like, thinks there's no purpose to anything. Um, and I mean, Augustine is really good. Epictetus is really good. I don't know. It's hard to narrow it down to 3 of like my favorite philosophers.
Sure,
Like,
sure.
yeah, it depends on the branch of philosophy we're talking about, I guess.
Yeah, do you have generally a pretty optimistic view on the world and the trajectory of the world based on, I guess it would be depending on maybe some of your interactions you've had with people online, maybe debates in person, just the way the culture is as a whole. Are you generally more optimistic, or do you think there's a lot of times you kind of fall into a more nihilistic view of society based on your experiences and whatnot?
I think optimism is a tactical necessity. I don't think anything in my environment necessarily makes me optimistic. And I think social media is built in such a way to like feed on nihilism because I think like hopelessness sells, unfortunately. But I think it's a tactical necessity. Like that's what my faith is. Like what why believe in God and not have hope? Like why would I even be doing that? There would be no point. Like the at the foundation of my faith is like hope in a God that loves me. And so like for me, it's like it's a tactical necessity. Like I always believe that people can change. I always believe that things can get better. I don't assume that it will. Like our actions within that determine the outcome, right? But I don't know. When people are really nihilistic, I get it. I understand it. I've like struggled with depression and anxiety. Like I get it. But I think a lot of times because history feels so linear, we feel that the future is linear, that like it's going in one direction and we're just kind of like watching on the wayside. But the reality is that like the future is determined by our actions. Like the future can be a multitude of things. And you are one of the actors who decides what it is. And I think that's important. Um, I think a lot of young men, especially, don't hear that enough. That like you are the hero that the world is waiting for. Like you are the hero that like broken people and like desperation and like money gobbling capitalists. Not that I'm opposed to capitalism, but like the wealth divide and everything. Like you're the hero that we're looking for. Like you're the friend that your friend needed to keep him from like jumping off that bridge. And I think if more people saw themselves that way, I think the world would be a better place. So I do my best to see myself that way when I
Mm,
can.
mm. How do you go about processing suffering?
It's actually funny. I have Job tattooed on my ribs. Job is one of
Do
my
you
favorite.
really?
I
Right
do. Yep.
on.
Yeah. Job is my favorite book in the Bible. I process suffering at a Christian lens. Essentially, I would say that God has chosen salvation and free will over the tragedy of suffering, right? Like I don't think God wants suffering. I don't think he delights in it or revels in it. He I think he weeps at it and allows it anyways because our choice matters. Like free will matters that much. Um, which is why salvation, like every time I talk about this, I get like goosebumps. It's like that's why salvation is so important. Like it's everything. Like every bit of tragedy is like hinged on the moment of possibility that like you can choose faith and hope. Um, and so I reconcile suffering by saying like we are all promised it. That's the only thing that God does promise us is suffering. And most of the time we don't understand why. And sometimes when we're lucky in prayer, we can rend meaning from the suffering. And
Mhm.
that's sometimes the best that we get. Um, but I guess essentially rejoice. And again, I say rejoice. Like suffering is what we're promised. And yet I rejoice. Sometimes it's the darkest night it takes the darkest night for stars to peek through.
Mm. What do you think? Because we talked about how when you engage in your debates and conversations, you have to take it down a little bit. You can never meet people where they're at because you have to take it down because the perception of it. What do you
Yeah.
think are other misconceptions about you?
I think a lot of people see me as somebody who's got it very together, because I think I project that. I don't. Um, like sometimes for me, like every day is a struggle, like getting out of bed. So I think a lot of people don't understand. Um, they don't understand that any person that they see on the screen that looks so awesome is like they're a person too. Most of the content creators that you love are very broken people. They're very sad and they're very lonely. Um, and they're asking them like at night when you're falling asleep, asking yourself if you're like worth anything. They're asking themselves that too. Like nobody escapes the existential questions. And I don't either. I think a lot of people don't get to see like the really soft sides of me very often. Like I love animals um, a lot. And I'm very like gentle and nurturing in a lot of ways. But I don't think people will get to see that very often just because of my style of content. It's something I'd like to bring out more. It's just it's tough to do it right now. Like I don't know. I shouldn't allow people that are like harassing me to determine like the content that I make, but it's really I think where my mental is at right now that if I came out with a more vulnerable piece of content and then it got like weaponized against me in ways that like hurt or like caused people who I associate as like co-working friends, like other streamers to like distance themselves from me. I don't know right now if I could handle that. Um, yeah, a lot of people don't know that I struggle with self-loathing like pretty intensely. Like I really, really struggle to find a sense of value like intrinsic to myself. And so, yeah, I think that would be tough for me to do that nurturing side. I really cherish that nurturing side, and I think I'm very protective of it. So, I don't think I show people it because I don't want people to stomp on it because I don't know if it can handle it, and I don't know if I can fix it if they do.
Has it always been a struggle of yours?
Yes.
And I imagine it only got amplified being online.
Yeah. I don't watch my own content for a reason. I really don't. Yeah, I really struggle. Like, if you ask me how I do after a debate, even my best debates ever, I'll be like, "I don't know." I just have to wait for people to react to it. I have no idea. I have no internal sense. My sense of value is determined on my work output of that day, and, like, that's about it. And so as you can imagine, that's an ambiguous line because I didn't say how much work output. It just has to be enough that I feel like I'm not trash that day. I don't know, which is super unhealthy. So, yeah, it's something I super struggle with.
Yeah, because I always think about how can you be in the public light and read YouTube comments. It's like the whole Joe Rogan thing where Joe's like, I never read
Mm.
any comments to my podcasts or anything because of what it would do to me. I imagine you don't do that as well.
No,
Then I guess
I have Nick read it because criticisms are important. It's important, though, to figure out which criticisms matter. And so Nick, I think, because Nick and I debate each other, Nick and I have a very honest relationship. Like, Nick is like, even though he's my husband, that doesn't mean he's just like my yes man. Um, he critiques me all the time, like lovingly and in ways that like I invite and I want. And I critique him all the time, obviously, too. But he'll typically read through the comments. And if there's something of being like, okay, I'm noticing a pattern and theme where people are feeling this way about you consistently, like even your own fans. So let's like figure out what's creating this projection so that we can like correct it if we don't want that projection. Like people thought I was condescending for a long time. I realized it was exclusively tied to how mean and aggressive I was. If I was meaner in a debate, people thought I was more condescending, even though being mean is not being condescending. Is like I would call people stupid retards and they'd be like, what a condescending bitch. And I was like, I'm not being condescending. I'm being fucking aggressive and mean, but I'm a woman. So like I think they just use condescending, probably because I use big words and I'm female, so I have like a more annoying, naggy voice than like a dude. That's probably what's causing that. So once I stop being as aggressive, no, like suddenly the condescending comments disappear. So a lot of people are like, maybe they think you're condescending because you are. That's crazy because when I am condescending, you guys fucking love it. I just don't like being condescending. I think it's icky. I don't like it where you like are smugly smiling at someone being like, let me explain to you where you went wrong. That's condescension. And I hate that shit. So I don't do it very often. But people love it when I do, and they hate it when I call them stupid retards. So I don't know.
do you mind if I ask how you and Nick met?
Yeah, we met at a at an at-risk youth camp as volunteers.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
How long you guys been married for?
It'll be 7 years in August.
Wow.
Yeah.
Honestly, I thought you were like 26.
Nope, 31.
Cool. Let me think what else I had here for you. Oh, what would the 18-year-old version of you be shocked the most about to learn about the 31-year-old version of you?
18-year-old me was still a fundamentalist, so everything, I don't know what wouldn't shock her. I wear crop tops. I, am liberal. I like, refound my faith in evolutionary science, like, that's, like, what brought me back to faith. Uh, I married, a mixed race guy. I think I just would have assumed that I would have married a white guy, not because I was racist, just because everyone is white where I lived. Um, that I found a guy who's Christian, but also like likes to wrestle with ideas as much as I do. I don't know. I think everything about me would shock me. That dyed my hair black. I was always a blonde. I always dyed my hair
You're
blonde.
blonde. Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
That's big news. Okay, and also you said the animals thing. Do you have a lot of pets?
I have a dog and 3 horses.
Dog and 3 horses. And the dog's name is
Freya.
Rhea?
Freya, like the goddess of war
Freya.
or whatever. Yeah.
Freya.
Yeah.
If you had a kid, would you ever name it Joe?
No. Why?
I just thought I'd ask. It
Joe?
was Job.
Oh, Job. I thought you said Joe. I was like, why the fuck would I name my kid Joe? I was like, your name's not even Joe. What's the joke here? Job, maybe? I don't know. I believe strongly actually in like inheritance of names. It's why when I was deciding if I was going to take Nick's last name, like I prayed about it a lot because I think the names that you take like matter. And Nick's spiritual inheritance behind his name, like our last name is Turner. I'm doxxed, so it's already out there, which comes from when the black slaves were emancipated. A lot of them just took the last name Turner because it means turning the soil. Um, and so it's like I just think it's beautiful. I just think it's like this beautiful spiritual idea of like resilience and like clawing up from like truly the most depraved, like horrible circumstances. Like there's not much worse than being like a black slave in America. Like there's few things as fucking awful as that. And like and yet the name like signifies this like hope. And like connection to it. Whereas like my maiden last name is not public, so I won't say it, but it's just ugly and it's like a long line of addicts and abusers and whatnot. So not a big fan of my maiden name.
So you
So
guys did the
Job, maybe not.
okay.
That feels like I'm guaranteeing him suffering. Get fucked. Yeah.
Did you guys do like an ancestry thing to find out the Turner slave thing?
No, sort of. I think one of his family members did an ancestry. His grandma was really into it. Which is funny because she was like an Irish. She married into the Turner family. Her husband was the Jamaican guy. But we didn't, but we've done like 23andMe. So we like have confirmed he is indeed black and white in ancestry.
Is this a perfect split of half and half, or is this like
No,
us?
25. I think it's like 27% Nigerian, Jamaican, and then
27%.
Mhm.
And that counts as mixed. I mean, I wonder what's like the percentage that counts as mixed race. Like
I
if
mean,
I
that's
was
racist. It's 1%. I think if you look not white enough and you're culturally not that white, we'll probably call you mixed race. Like Nick grew up inner city, like in poor neighborhood. He doesn't look black, but he does not look white. Like nobody thinks he's white. They just think he's like maybe Greek or Mediterranean, maybe, or some sort of things because he's got a lot of like Anglo features, but then he's got the crazy dark, curly, ringlety hair, and like the darker toned skin, right? So it's like, okay, this guy's not white. He's not obviously black, but he grew up in a very Jamaican family, so he can definitely like he can hang, he can speak patois quite well. So I don't know. I think mixed race is both like a how you appear and also how you perform.
how you appear and how you perform.
Yeah, if you can code switch into black spaces because you grew up in black spaces, like you're culturally probably more black. At least you have some culture of blackness, right? Like I can't code switch. Like I can't walk into a black neighborhood and have anyone believe for a second that I grew up in a black neighborhood because I am so fucking white that I like scream. They're like, I can see Miley Cyrus singles on you. Get out of here, white. Like they'll know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. If cameras turned off tomorrow, how do you think you'd occupy that time?
I'd probably just try to do. I'd probably try to do more horse lessons, horse riding. Probably go back to school. Because I'd have to pursue my treatment center through like the more traditional of like getting education, get a PhD, and then convince people that I'm smart enough to run the program.
A PhD in what specifically?
I originally was going to do clinical psych, but it's like more competitive than med school. I did get in once, but I haven't been doing research the last 3 years. So I probably would have to like do a lot of research before I'd get accepted in. I'd probably do a research psych in like neuropsych background. In like maybe forensic neuropsych. I feel like that would be a good blend.
Yeah. And where did this love for horses come from? Is this like a growing up
It's
around
in my
the stable?
blood. It's in my blood. I don't know.
It's in your
Nope.
blood.
Yeah, my dad is anti-farm because he grew up on a farm and was like basically adopted as a child to be a farm laborer. So he hates farms. He hates dirt. He hates having dirt in his nails. Like he hates that shit. And my mom, like we didn't even grow up camping. Like we are not outdoorsy family. I just always loved horses as a little girl. Like always did and begged my parents for riding lessons and begged to go on pony rides. So they put me into horse riding lessons and then I just kept pursuing it. As soon as I was like 13 and I could get a job at a horse ranch, I just went and worked at like a youth camp and I worked the horses. So I've just always been obsessed with horses. Still am.
Have you been in the Kentucky Derby?
No. But I do love racing a lot. Well, I don't love modern day racing, but I love like the heritage of racing. I'd love to see it though.
Yeah, pretty cool. Do we think that there's anything else? That might have been it. Okay. Uh, if you could ask God one question and he would tell you the answer right then and there, what would you ask?
Did Epstein kill himself?
No way you would ask.
I mean, I do want to know, right? I think it's important. Um, Probably something like, "What did I get wrong?"
What did I get wrong? Oh, I guess like the biggest thing you got wrong?
Yeah, like, I feel like the biggest thing that I could get wrong would be something related to my faith, right? So, like, what did I get wrong?
Yeah. That'd be good. Wait, do you think there's a chance that Epstein didn't kill himself? Sorry. Do you think there's a chance Epstein killed himself?
Um, with like the recent leak of footage, like with how hard it would be, I'm like not. I don't care. Either he did or he didn't. I don't give a fuck. That case has been so mishandled. Somebody's covering something. Okay, probably on both sides. Like whether he killed himself or not, somebody who's about to go and publicly out potentially a bunch of politicians for being involved in like weird minor sex, killing himself, couldn't imagine that. But also being told, hey, you've got 2 minutes, do it now, or you're going to get like nuked. I could also see that. Like I could see him killing himself, but he was like threatened to do so. Did he get like have somebody sneak in and murder him? I don't think that there's good evidence for that, but I wouldn't be surprised to find out that he like got pressured to or he just opted to like escape repercussions. Although the 2-minute window of like, oopies, our cameras went out and the suicide wing is very weird, like very weird. Again, sometimes prisons are shitty. Maybe the most important criminal of like modern history, like being socially monitored, no fucking way. So either they said you got 2 minutes, and like left it up to him, like nobody pressured him, but he just was like, well, I'm getting out, or somebody pressured him. That would be my suspicion. I don't think there was any way for anyone to get in based on the
Do
footage.
you think we ever find out the truth?
I think, yeah. I think if people, like I said, the future is not set. If enough people get mad for long enough, like the fact that anyone let it die at all in 2019, it, it it's a big deal. He's best friend. He literally said he was best friends with Trump, right? Like Trump is on record talking about what a great guy is and how they both like young women and stuff like. I'm sorry, there's no world that there isn't a whole bunch of weird old fogies on that list, like on both sides. Like there's just a bunch of old fucks that are for sure on these lists. Um, wouldn't shock me. Think about like 15 years ago, we were kind of chill with old men making jokes about like, man, I wish I could fuck that 15-year-old. She's so sexy. Have to wait 3 years. Imagine 30 years ago, how much more like chill, especially the like upper elite before like major social media explodes, like how much more like people might be willing to be like, well, I mean, she's 15, but like it's a party, wouldn't shock me at all. Wouldn't shock me at all in any ways that all these politicians are doing weird sex and having little sex parties. Wouldn't shock me in any way, shape, or form, especially the
Wow.
old ones. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I have one last question. Okay, I was going to ask you, what do you think is biggest the biggest social issue right now, and what do you think is going to be the biggest one in, say, 20 years? I know it's a very odd question, but
Yeah.
I want to see how you'd interact with it.
I think social media and overall our internet bill of rights. I think the internet is the Wild West. I think it's very unregulated. And I think we are brutally paying the consequences of it. Gen Z is fucked. Like they are stupid. They consume mostly TikTok in short form. They like have no attention span. We're seeing kids that were raised during COVID from like 2 to 4 have like a massive drop in IQ points. So I think social media and the internet in general, we are in for like a lot of people don't know prehistoric history well, but when humanity shifted to agriculturalism, there was like mass ramifications for humankind in ways that you wouldn't think about. Like, for example, once you're doing agriculture, now you're not nomadic. You have to stay there to tend to your crops. Well, if you're staying in one place, now all of your piss and shit is a problem. Whereas when you're nomadic, it's not. And suddenly there was mass outbreaks of disease as a result of agriculture, which nobody would think agriculture would cause disease, but sitting in one spot and not realizing this very pre-germ theory. This is like just discovering like barley can put in ground and it grow, right? That's where like humans were at that time. And it caught like, there was like, from a record, there was like a large amount of death as a result of the agricultural revolution, even though the agricultural revolution is also the thing responsible for an explosion of human population as well. And I think when we're on like technological revolutions in this way, the ramifications are not always self-evident because they're in areas that we don't even know it will have an impact on. I think that that's the internet right now. I think that in 20 years, hopefully we'll have figured out if internet anonymity is a thing anymore. I'm basically at the point where I don't know if we can maintain it, not because I'm like opposed to it inherently. In fact, I'm pretty for I'm an OG internet person. Like, I'm pretty for the internet anonymity, but man, bot farms and like people weaponizing their anonymity online, it's just getting worse and worse. Like, it's bad. And it can't be allowed to continue. It's fucked. So I think the internet and the ramifications of it.
But you would believe this is also very fixable?
Yeah, I mean, we've hopefully that we're all gonna die, basically. Yeah, I think so. Like, life will continue for sure. I don't think that this will be like the end of humanity.
Cool. Well, Kyla, thanks for coming on. Any last words of wisdom, pieces of advice you want to share with the audience?
Um, read books, read philosophy. It helps you think better, and I think the most important thing in this world is to live well and to think well. And get those Epstein files out there, guys. Don't let them run away from it, okay? Don't let them run away. It's actually a big fucking deal. It's a big deal that all these politicians might be hiding it, that Trump has been lying about it. It's a big deal, and don't let it not be a big deal.
Amen. Trump, if you're out there and listening, release the files. Kyla, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.